fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. His faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. I'll Silver! Aye!
The Lone Ranger had run out of cash for his simple needs, so he and Tonto rode to the secret silver mine, owned jointly by the masked man and his nephew, Dan Reed. The trusted old friend who lived in a shack that concealed the mine welcomed the two men warmly, then pointed to a bench where he had piled the small gleaming bars of silver he'd refined with hand equipment.
Well, there's the silver all set and waiting for you.
Good.
Here's your silver bullets.
Well, thanks, Jim. Tonto, will you bring in the saddlebags?
Me get 'em.
Lad, I suppose you'll ride from here to Border City.
Yes, Jim. That's where a friend of mine exchanges the silver for money.
His name's George Wilson, isn't it?
That's right. He's a banker.
In Border City, did you ever hear of a man named Ringo?
Oh, yes. When I was there 6 months ago, he owned the cafe.
He owns more than that now, lad. He just about owns the town, including the mayor and the sheriff. And he's hoping to own George Wilson.
Jim, how do you know all that?
Well, last week, when I was in the valley town for supplies, I met a man from Border City. Told me what had happened there. He said all the decent folks were moving out to make room for the outlaw friends of Ringo, who were moving in.
That's news to me.
I thought it would be.
Jim, when decent citizens leave their homes to make room for outlaws, something must be done, and I'll do it.
After leaving the silver mine, the Lone Ranger and Tonto rode for 3 days and 2 nights, with only the briefest of pauses for food and rest.
Oh, Silver. Easy, big fella.
Easy, Scout.
It was late the third night when they drew rein and dismounted near the stable behind a big rambling house just outside of Border City. The Lone Ranger looked toward a lighted window and said,
That's the window of George Wilson's study. He must still be up.
That's good.
Now, take the saddlebag and go to the house. You better stay with Scout and Silver, Tonto.
Me wait here.
Tonto watched his masked friend walk to the house about 50 feet away and tap on the French door. The door was opened, The Lone Ranger stepped inside. Then the door was closed and a drapery drawn across it. At that moment, a man spoke behind Tonto's back.
Stand still, Injun. Don't make a noise.
You're covered. Hold your hands high while we take away your fighting tools. There. Now turn around. Oh. Where you come from?
We were around the side of the stable. Who are you?
Me, Tonto. Me friend, the banker Wilson. You maybe guards, huh?
Guards?
Ah.
Well, I reckon we're something of the sort. Who's the man who was with you?
Oh, him friend of Wilson. Heap good friend.
In the moonlight, it looked like he wore a mask.
Oh, him wear mask, but him not outlaw. Him Lone Ranger.
What?
The Lone... Trip, did you hear that?
Yeah, that checks. The mask, the white horse.
That's something we should tell the boss.
What you mean, boss? You not work for Wilson?
Mace, you talk too much.
What'll we do?
I'll show you what we'll do. Now turn around, Tonto, and walk ahead of us.
Right.
Get going. Come on, Mace. Walk right around the side of the stable, Tonto.
What do you got in mind, Trip?
We'll tie and gag the engine.
No, you not.
No.
Hey, you hit him hard, Trip.
Just knocked him out. Never yet killed a man with a gun barrel. Tie and gag him. We'll leave him here and report to Ringo.
Ringo was expecting George Wilson would call in another federal man or special investigator like he did before.
Yeah, that's why he had us watching the house.
But he never figured Wilson would get the help of the Lone Ranger. I wonder what Ringo will do about this.
I don't know, but I bet he'll do plenty.
Meanwhile, inside the banker's house, George Wilson locked the Lone Ranger's silver in a small safe, and the masked man pocketed paper money and coins of equal value.
Thanks for the exchange, George.
I've been proud to serve as your secret banker, but I'm afraid this is the last time.
I heard that a man named Ringo...
Ringo, that crook. I intended to tell you about him.
Is he the man who owned the cafe when I was here 6 months ago?
Yes, he still owns the cafe, but now he also owns practically everything else in town.
How did he expand so fast?
By spending unlimited money.
Mm-hmm. You know how he got the money?
Yes, I do. He's been smuggling stolen weapons to renegade armies across the border.
Stolen weapons, huh?
That's right. Stolen from the army. Army supply trains all over the West have been attacked, robbed, and troops massacred. By devious routes, the stolen arms and ammunition find their way here to Border City. And you know how close we are to the international boundary.
I've heard that some of the buildings here in town are within a couple of 100 feet of the border.
That's true. And one of those buildings is Ringo's Cafe. As I was telling you, with plenty of money to spend, Ringo got his own men elected to public offices. Then, with law distorted in his favor, he gained control of most of the business property.
And the townsmen let him get away with it?
Some who opposed him disappeared. Others were found mysteriously killed. Still others, especially men with families, just moved away. Now Border City is filled with outlaws of every type. They've come from all over, and they take orders from Ringo. He must have spent years building his organization secretly before he moved into the open.
George, are you sure of your facts?
Certain. My information came from reliable sources. Many of the men who gave it to me are now dead. Ringo knows I'm trying to fight him. He offered to buy me out.
What did he say when you turned him down?
He merely smiled. I don't know what his next move will be, but I know he'll strike, and strike hard.
Is the federal government helpless?
Well, agents have tried to get evidence against Ringo and failed. Obviously, anything that might incriminate him is well concealed. I think... What's that?
A horse outside the door. Sounds like Silver.
We'll slide back the drape. You'll be able to see through the glass.
It is Silver. I'll open the door. What is it, Silver? What's wrong?
He's running toward the stable.
Something's wrong there. I'll follow him.
I'll go with you.
Following Silver, the Lone Ranger and George Wilson quickly reached the place beside the stable where Tonto, tied and gagged, lay on the ground. The masked man drew his knife and a gun.
Here, George, you take the gun.
Right.
Keep your eyes open while I release Tonto. That takes care of the gag, Tonto.
Kimasabi.
Are you hurt?
Me hitting head. Knocked out. But me all right now.
There. Rub your arms to restore the circulation while I cut the other ropes. Who did this?
2 men. Them say them guards watching house. Me think them work for Wilson.
But I have no guards.
There, you're free, Tonto. Feel able to stand?
Me try stand.
I'll help you to your feet.
A 2 fella ask about Masked Man, and me say him Lone Ranger, and them plenty surprised.
Why did they knock you out?
Them say them tie and gag me and leave me here while them go tell boss about Lone Ranger. Me try fight. Me hitting head knocked out.
Did those men name their boss?
No.
Undoubtedly Ringo. He probably gets a report on everyone who visits me. And now that he knows you're here, he'll act fast.
We'll act faster. I'll call on Ringo tonight.
No. It would be suicide for you to go to his place.
I'll reduce the risk by wearing a disguise. Have you some old clothes I might borrow?
Well, of course, but...
I'll join you and Tonto in the house as soon as I stable Scout and Silver.
From an assortment of Wilson's clothes, the Lone Ranger chose a dark suit and necessary accessories. While dressing in these, he said,
Lucky I haven't taken time to shave for several days. My beard and a black patch over one eye should make a fair disguise.
A black patch over one eye?
Yes, that's right. I hope to be mistaken for an outlaw known as Patch.
Is there any such person?
Yes, indeed there is.
Huh?
I have a handbill describing him. Tonto, will you get it out of the pocket of that shirt?
Me get it.
Show it to Wilson. Patch was wanted in California for murder. We caught him a few weeks ago and turned him over to the law.
Here, and
Thanks.
If I can impress Ringo and make him think I'm dodging the law, he may take me into his gang. I might then be able to get the evidence to smash him.
If you get the evidence, I'll get the government agents to act on it.
There, I think I'm ready. All but removing my mask and putting on the eye patch.
I'd say you look all right. This description's very general. You're about the right size. The clothes look all right.
here, gun belt, Kimasabi.
Thanks.
Oh, you can't take that into Ringo's cafe. All guns and gun belts are collected at the door.
Oh, that bad. Maybe someone sees silver bullets. Them know who you are.
I can't run that risk. Lend me your gun belt, Tonto.
Me give you belt, but holster empty. Men who knock me out take gun.
I have an old one that'll fit the holster.
You want this handbill?
Yes, I hope to use it to good advantage.
You ready now, Kimasabi?
Oh, but the black patch, Tonto. I'll make it from an extra mask. And for the first move against Ringo.
Joe Ringo, a big man with black hair and a black mustache, sat at his favorite table near the door where he could see everyone who entered his cafe. With him sat Trip and Mace, the men who had knocked out Tonto. After finishing their report, they went on talking without noticing that Ringo was deep in thought.
By now, the Redskins probably regained consciousness, Mr. Ringo.
Masked man might have found him.
Mace and me didn't know what to do, Mr. Ringo.
That's right, Mr. Ringo. You told us to let you know who went to Wilson's house, but you didn't say anything about bringing in prisoners.
Like I said, we didn't know what to do.
Be quiet. Can't you see that I'm trying to think?
Sorry, Mr. Ringo.
So Wilson sent for the Lone Ranger. Wonder how he located him.
I don't know, Mr. Ringo.
I'm not asking you.
Oh,
I thought Wilson might try to fight me by sending for more federal agents. But the Lone Ranger... He's not restricted by legal technicalities. Boys.
yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Ringo?
I've decided on our next move. Someone has to kill the Lone Ranger.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger adventure. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue. For a moment, Trip and Mace were somewhat awestruck at Ringo's decision to kill the Lone Ranger. Then a man a short distance away suddenly raised his voice in anger to the waiter.
Don't tell me I can't sit at this table. I'll sit anywhere I want.
But, Mr. Ringo doesn't like to have one man hold down a big table.
I don't care what Mr. Ringo likes. He wants me to move. Tell him to move me.
Everyone's attention was focused on the tall stranger with the eye patch, but no one suspected he was the Lone Ranger. Ringo spoke to Mace and Trip.
Who's the man with the eye patch?
I don't know, Mr. Ringo. He came in a few minutes ago.
You bring him to me. I want to talk to him.
Right, Mr. Ringo. Come on, Trip.
Ringo will teach that patch-eye gent who runs things around here.
Yeah, he sure will.
Well, what do you two want?
Stranger, Mr. Ringo wants to talk to you. He's at that table over yonder.
He wants to talk to me. Tell him to come here.
He told us to bring you to him.
Oh?
Well, come on, move.
Take your hand off my arm.
You're coming with us. Grab him, Mace.
Gentlemen, I don't like to be grabbed.
The Lone Ranger leaped to his feet.
Fight!
He wrenched free of the outlaw's grip and drove a fist to Mace's chin. Trip swung hard, missed,
All right, take it.
and took a straight jab to the stomach. Then both men, hurt and enraged, tried to overwhelm the stranger.
Show you.
Smash every bone in your body.
The Lone Ranger dodged, ducked, and sidestepped, avoiding clumsy swings, while stabbing Ringo's men repeatedly with clean, short blows. His head, hand, and footwork brought murmurs of admiration from the crowd. Even Ringo smiled. Trip stumbled back and smashed into a table, while Mace threw himself at the tall stranger.
Nailed you yet.
For the Lone Ranger, the fight was but a means to an end. Sparring defensively, he backed close to Ringo's table. As if by accident, a folded sheet of paper slipped from his pocket and fluttered to the floor at Ringo's feet. Ringo picked it up.
This has gone far enough. It's time you went to sleep. And here's your nightcap.
While the Lone Ranger stood looking at the two men sprawled unconscious on the floor, Ringo arose and said,
Stranger, I still want to talk to you. My name is Ringo.
You'd have less broken furniture if you'd spoken to me in the first place, instead of sending those muscle-bound grizzlies to my table.
The furniture can be replaced. So can the muscle-bound grizzlies. Boys, take Mace and Trip into the back room till they wake up.
Yes, Mr. Ringo. All right, boy.
Will you step into my office?
I came here to eat. I've traveled a long way and I'm hungry.
Be my guest. I'll have food brought to the office. I'd like to talk to you.
Suits me.
The first step of his plan having been successful, the Lone Ranger followed Ringo into a beautifully furnished office and sat down. He expected an invitation to join the gang, and little suspected what Ringo really had in mind. The gang leader began with a smile.
Your food will be here in a few minutes. Meanwhile, I'll return this handbill. You dropped it, Patch. I read it. What are you doing in Border City?
The trains don't cross the border.
Oh, I see. You came here by train and you want to cross the border.
You saw the handbill. You think I'm safe in the States?
No, Patch. But on the other hand, you can't cross the border.
Yeah, why not?
The whole border district is heavily patrolled by government agents looking for gun runners. They'll stop you and question you. They undoubtedly have reports on all men who are wanted by the law.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
Patch, if you'll pay my price, I'll get you safely out of the country.
What's your price?
I want 2 men killed.
It should be easy for you. I recognize at least 6 gunslingers in the cafe.
These are very important men, and their deaths will make a big noise. All of my men, my friends, must have ironclad alibis so there'll be no suspicion that I'm connected to the murders.
Oh?
The killer will have to leave the States for good. You must do that anyway, so you've nothing to lose.
Who's to be killed?
A banker named George Wilson and the Lone Ranger.
What? The Lone Ranger? Is he around here?
Yes, he's in Wilson's home. You kill those 2, and I'll guarantee you safe passage to Mexico.
How? By bribing the Border Patrol?
No, by means of an underground tunnel. It's dry now, but it was once the bed of an underground river. It runs under the border and opens into a hidden ravine in Mexico, about half a mile from the border. Few people know of its existence.
Where's the opening on this side of the border?
You'll see it in due time. After the shooting, come here as quickly as possible. Come to this office through the side door without going through the cafe.
Do you mean to say you got to the tunnel from this office?
You'll see tomorrow night. Meanwhile, you stay in my hotel next door.
Do you want me to wait until tomorrow night?
Yes, I'll arrange a party in honor of the men of the Border Patrol. All of my friends and associates will be there, as well as the men from the Border Patrol camp who are off duty.
Giving you a number of federal men as alibi witness for your friends.
Exactly.
Just one thing, Ringo.
Well?
I want to study the situation in advance. I'd like to look over Wilson's house and grounds tonight.
I'll have Mace and Tripp take you there.
Aren't they the men I fought?
Yes. They'll make no further trouble.
The waiter, Mr. Ringo.
Oh, here's your food. Come in. While you're eating, I'll see if Mace and Tripp have recovered.
While alone in the office with his meal, the disguised Lone Ranger quickly adjusted his plans to the startling new development. He penciled a note of instructions for Tonto, and it was in his pocket when Ringo returned to the office.
Mace and Tripp are ready when you are.
I'm ready. Where's my gun?
You'll not need it tonight. You're just going to study the situation. I'll give you your gun when you leave on your mission tomorrow night.
During the short walk to the estate of George Wilson, just beyond the edge of town, Tripp and Mace were sullen and spoke only when necessary. They kept the man they knew as Patch between them, while he studied the lighted house from all sides, then moved to the door of the dark stable.
I want to look inside the stable
What for?
to see if the white stallion of the Lone Ranger's there.
All right, come on.
In the stable, the Lone Ranger struck a match. The flickering light revealed Silver, Scout, and several other horses.
That's the Lone Ranger's horse. The one in the next stall belongs to his Indian partner.
Ringo was right. The Lone Ranger is here.
The match burned out, and the Lone Ranger moved fast in the darkness. He slipped the note from his pocket and left it where Tonto would be sure to find it in the morning.
You ready to go back to the cafe?
Yeah, let's go.
The following evening, Ringo played host. All of his men and a number of invited townsmen were in the cafe to honor the Border Patrol. Presently, Ringo excused himself, hurried to his office, and closed the door. He unlocked his private door, and a moment later, the Lone Ranger, still posing as Patch, walked in from the alley.
Well, right on time. I like that. Ready to go?
Yes, I'll need my gun.
Here. You sure you'll be able to get into Wilson's house?
No doubt of it. I'll be back here in half an hour.
I'll be here in the office. Meanwhile, I'll make myself conspicuous in the cafe.
In the cafe, Ringo covered his nervous tension with forced laughter.
Well, that's the best joke of the evening, Captain. Tell us another one, will you?
He kept close track of time, and soon he once again hurried to his office. Seated at his desk, he watched the clock. The man known as Patch had been gone 30 minutes. 31. And then...
Ringo, where's the escape tunnel?
Calm down. What's in that bundle?
My clothes. You promised to show me the tunnel. Where is it? I still have bullets in this gun, Ringo. You try to double-cross me,
I'll show you the tunnel. Tell me how things went.
I got into the house, fired one shot. And a lot of federal agents rushed into the room.
Federals?
I couldn't fight all of them. I ran.
Did they see you?
Of course, they're chasing me, but I'm well ahead of them.
Oh, you blundering fool.
Show me that tunnel.
Those men will come here. They'll question me.
You're in the clear unless they find me. If they do, I'll swear you set me to kill Wilson and the Lone Ranger.
I'll get you out of here, but I'd rather kill you.
Don't try it. I'm armed.
The entrance to the tunnel's behind these bookshelves. The shelves swing out like this.
Very clever.
Go down the steps. You'll find a lantern. Just keep going straight ahead.
All right.
Oh, wait. Did you kill the Lone Ranger?
Ask the federal men what happened.
Ringo didn't dare wait longer. He closed the secret door. And the bookshelves were no sooner back in place than the side door opened. 5 men came in.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, Ringo. And I think you know these men. They're special agents for the government.
Yes, we've met. Are you men here to search my place again? If so, I trust you have a search warrant.
Ringo, we're looking for a man who we think came here.
The man you sent to my house.
I've no idea what you're talking about.
You tried to hire a killer.
Wilson, I'm getting tired of your accusations. You've tried to prove I deal in stolen army goods, that I'm a gun runner, a smuggler. Now you accuse me of hiring a killer.
Look, the bookcase is moving.
Hold it, Ringo. You're covered.
I'll take your gun.
Oh, wait.
Stand still, Ringo.
This is it, Ringo.
Masko!
Did you find what we wanted?
Yes, Wilson. In that tunnel, there are cases of Army guns and ammunition, as well as papers and some records that should convict the whole gang. Moreover, the tunnel goes all the way to Mexico, crossing in under the border.
That does it.
That voice. You wore the eye patch.
Yes, and now he's wearing a mask.
He tricked me. I'll kill you with bare hands.
Thanks, Ringo.
Wow, you cooled him in a hurry.
Did I hear you say thanks?
Yes, I'd hoped for the chance to give him a little of the same that Mason Tripp got.
I'll handcuff him while he's unconscious.
Jim, the captain and men of the Border Patrol are waiting for word to arrest the hoodlums in the cafe.
Yeah, that'll be easy. All the guns except those of the federal men are checked at the door. I'll go and tell the captain to get busy.
Oh, by the way, one of Ringo's men stole Tonto's gun.
We'll get it back for him.
Oh, you have it. Ringo must have admired it, because it's the one he was carrying.
Then this gun I took from Ringo belongs to your friend?
Yes.
Oh, then take it to him. Here.
Thanks.
Tonto is waiting in the alley with your horse.
I'll go to him now, George.
Mr. Wilson and Tano told us about you, sir. We're proud to have had a hand in helping smash the Ringo gang.
Otto and I are proud to have helped you, government men. Adios.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Wilson, in 24 hours, that masked man accomplished more than we could in the past 6 months.
Well, that's the Lone Ranger.
This is a feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated, created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Muir Incorporated, and directed by Charles D. Livingston. Tonight's drama was written by Fran Stryker. The part of the Lone Ranger is played by Brace Beamer.
You've been listening to the OTR Gold Network. Find more classic radio at otrgold.com.